3rd. Chair Colcat, Vice Chair McClatchy,
Here.
Commissioner Claris,
Here.
Commissioner Fry, absent. Commissioner Kalbach,
Here.
Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Richmond.
Here.
Okay, we have quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Helen. So we're going to do a quick Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so public comments. Are there any speakers that we have that have requested to speak?
It doesn't look like it.
All right. Can we move on and then approve the minutes from the May 17th meeting?
Sure. Helen, all I have is there's a typo in item 3. You have an extra space. It goes 5, space 000. Just take the space out when you finalize these. Others may have comments, but I don't, as to substance.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay. So I'm going to call roll call. Chair Colcat, Vice Chair McClatchy,
Approved.
Commissioner Claris,
Approved.
Commissioner Fry, Commissioner Callback,
Approved.
Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Richmond.
Approved.
Okay, so motion passes with 4 approved, 2 absent, and 3 absent.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on the June agenda is to review the first the review of the investment policy. So John, did you want to say anything about this, or
No, I was going to see if the subcommittee wanted to provide a report and perhaps lead some of the discussion on this item.
Sure. So the subcommittee met as it is noted, and I'm losing my place here. There it is. And looked at the investment policy and had no recommendations to change that. We only had a recommendation to ask the advisor a specific question about some of our investments. John brought this up, and I think it's a good point, and we'd like to put it on the agenda. Sorry about that. See, here's whoever's on the phone has a dog too. So anyway, we have no recommendations for change.
okay. Are we scheduled to have is it not PMF? Who are they?
PFM.
PFM.
Yes. Yeah, to answer your question, Vice Chair, PFM, the representative from PFM is planning to attend our August commission meeting. Helen, I believe August is correct, to talk with us a little bit and to answer questions and provide some insight that staff cannot.
And Helen, in our meeting, said that she would notify them ahead of time of the question that came up on the specific investments. Or agents.
Yes, certainly. And you know, for those members of the commission who are not on the subcommittee, if you have questions that you would like us to provide to PFM ahead of time, feel free to send those to myself and to Helen, and we'll get them over there so that they can have some time to, if they need to research a question or an answer, that they can do that before our meeting.
Who besides Gary was on the subcommittee?
I
John-
was.
John was, if you want to, John brought the question up, if you want to hear more of that question, of the reasoning for investing in the agencies, the federal agencies, given the somewhat tenuous questions about the agency. And Jim was there too.
My concern was primarily with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, which are quasi-government agencies. And part of my questions were with regard to, would they be spun off? The government has, to my knowledge, hired an investment banker to spin them off. The investment rate of return seems to be lower than just standard treasuries. And we seem to be going from 10% of our bonds to 20-something% of our bonds into these agencies. And at least from my point of view, we don't seem to be compensated for something that we are getting a lower rate of return for.
Thanks for pointing that out, John. I think that's pretty important to get an answer from them about, about what we're investing in.
Great question. Yep. And just asking the question, they may redistribute when you ask them the question.
They may have perfectly good answers. It's just those were my concerns.
No, I think those are good. It's a good question. So that's the subcommittee report, if you will.
I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have any questions on this investment policy? Okay, so I think we can conclude this.
Sorry, Martha, to interrupt you, but we have changed on page 3, the titles, I think, haven't we, on finance director and administrative services? We just need to verify in F.
Right, and currently says the administrative services / finance director. And I think that was very prudent on the commission and whoever wrote this to make sure that they were both, in case we went with one director or one title or the other. And so we should be, with the way it's written, we should be okay with moving forward with just a finance director.
That's all.
So on page 4J, does that also need the designation of both titles, or are we okay with just presenting one title?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I see it on L as well in other places. I'm just wondering for consistency.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think it would be best to have it consistent that way. I don't know if that sort of change would require a formal action or if we can just do that administratively, because that's sort of the intent, I think, of the policy, is that it is whomever is serving in that position. So I'll look into it and let you know if we need to take a formal action on that, or if we can just sort of the Scribner's errors and make the correction.
So this has to be approved by city council, or not? Only if there was a change, I presume.
Well, so if there were changes, those changes would need to be approved by the city council.
But this is noted. Yeah.
But like I say, I don't know if this level of change would require city council approval or not. I can't imagine that it would, but I'll look into it and see.
Good.
Out of curiosity, do we have a document that defines like a class 1 change versus a class 3 change?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
again, I mean, in terms of for city purposes, there's certain documents that we could change, or that any sort of change, even this kind, would require council approval. I don't know that this document raises to that level. I mean, that would be, you know, the city's municipal code, or a resolution of or something. But for a policy like this, the intent is it's either the finance director or the administrative services director. I don't know, but I will look into it and see.
All right, so thank you, subcommittee, for the review of the investment policy. Can we move on to the next item on the agenda? I think it's the finance, what is it?
Financial policy.
Yeah, financial policy.
Sorry, I was still writing. So you have attached the city's financial policy. This is coming to you as sort of a new review that the commission is going to do each year as part of I believe, the discussion that the council ad hoc committee had, and one of their recommendations, as well as the commission's work plan, was to include a review of the city's financial policies annually. As you can see, the current financial policy was last updated in April of 2015. And so it has been a while, I think, since perhaps this commission has reviewed it. So it is attached and it was provided for your review. And if there's any changes or questions you might have, we can absolutely discuss those.
I don't have any, I've read it twice now and have no suggested changes or reviews.
So in reviewing this, what I'm hoping is that our new finance director, this would be one of the first documents that they would review.
I agree.
So I almost feel like I'd want to look at this now and review it, and we can make comment on it, but certainly once the finance director comes on board, if we need to have a second conversation about it, I think that we should allow time to do that.
I think that's a very wise and prudent course of action. Certainly the new finance director would be able to look at it and bring in other best practices from other agencies, or maybe tell us that this is the best darn financial policy that individual has ever seen. So
Somehow we need to tickle this for when he or she come. And sounds like a Helen follow-up.
agreed. Yes. So we will make sure that the new director makes this one of their first, among many first actions, is to review this and to perhaps have a discussion with the commission further on any, like I say, best practices that they may have.
Yep.
Out of curiosity, on something like this, do you guys do action item lists?
You're talking about making sure that the new finance director.
Well, yeah,
reviews
like
it?
for example, we're assigning a person who I assume has not been hired yet a series of actions. What, one way that I've seen it done is you create an action item list.
Yep.
You assign the date, assign the completion, and then a higher body usually reviews those actions to make sure it didn't fall in the crack, that it was actually
Sure.
completed.
Sure. And we don't typically have that level of detail, but we certainly do create lists of items that the new individual needs to tackle. One of which is we'll add to it is the financial policies. And certainly I would say within the first few months of that individual coming on board, they should definitely review it and report back to the commission as to their review of it and if they have any recommended changes for it.
Aside from our memories, how would we know that that's completed?
So what I would suggest is Helen, if you could pull up the agenda where we have listed down there at the bottom potential future agenda items.
Okay.
We'll add it to their next, or probably right under the discussion of, or maybe right above the discussion on CalPERS Reserve Fund with a TBD date on it, so that it's there and we know for, it will stay there until it comes back to you.
Excellent.
I think
Yes.
that works well.
Good idea. The one thing that I wanted to ask, maybe Helen, is there going to be the PAFR done, the Popular Annual Financial Report? Is that going to be done for this year, or?
So I can answer that. So typically we put out the PAFR in January or so, shortly after the CAFR is completed, because those are the numbers that we use. As you all are painfully aware, we had a lot of turnover and the CAFR didn't get done until late February, I believe. Or was it early March? February, March. And so the PAFR got pushed out. So we are not doing a PAFR this year. We are going to put out a sort of a report that's looking at the past 15 months or so, more focused on COVID, because of course that's what has dominated all of our time and thoughts, and have made sure that it is on our list so that we are putting it out next year. So as soon as the CAFR is done, we will put it out. The other, I've talked with our staff who do the PAFR, and they've got it on their calendar that we're going to get it out, hopefully January. And that'll be something that the new finance director will need to do, is making sure that the audit and the CAFR are done in a timely manner.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the financial policy, excuse me?
I don't have any.
Don't either.
I don't either.
No, not on my end either.
Okay. So item number 4 is staff announcements. Are there any?
Yeah, sure. And I got to say thank you all for the discussion this evening. And I know it was rather short, but you guys have done a lot of hard work the last few months, and your last few meetings have had a lot of weighty topics. And of course, we will be talking about Park and Lieu at the next meeting, and so that may involve some discussion. Just very quickly, two things. The finance director position is moving forward. The application period has closed on that. We did get some good applicants, and so are moving forward with interviews and that whole process. And then the other announcement is, and unfortunately he's not here this evening, but Jim Martin has indicated that he will be resigning from the commission effective July 31st. And so we will miss him, but appreciate all of the work that he has done over the years for the city and for the commission.
He announced this to the subcommittee and with the reasoning that he's moving. So he's moving up to Santa Rosa. So it wasn't anything we said or did, I guess.
I figured it was he couldn't stand the your interim liaison.
That's it.
No.
So those were the only announcements that I had for the group.
Hey, then, John, two questions, if I may. Where are you guys at on federal stimulus money? Do you guys have any better visibility on amounts and timing?
Yeah, so you're talking about the ARP
Exactly.
dollars. And thank you for the question, and I very much appreciate it because that was another item that I should have announced. So as you know, we are to receive dollar amounts or dollars from the ARP, from the American Rescue Plan Act. Originally, we were to receive, I believe it was $5.2 million in 2 installments. Over the last few weeks, that number has gotten bumped up to, I believe it's 7.1 or 7.2 million. Again, over two installments. The deadline to submit our information to the state is June 23rd, so this Wednesday. We submitted our information last week, and so hopefully we will hear soon as to when those dollars will be released and when they will when we will get them. Of course, as I'm sure you all know, anything involving the state tends to take some time, and you know in staff meetings a while ago predicted that the state was going to try to hold on to our ARP dollars as long as they could, and it kind of seems like that's what they're doing. The state is required by the Department of Treasury to release the funds within a certain amount of time. They've already applied for a waiver on that time frame so that they can hold on to them even longer. So I am hopeful that here in the next few days and week, we will hear more as to when we will actually get the dollars.
I have a quick spurious question for you, John, on this. Out of curiosity, how large of an application is it, and how long does it take to do?
It's not very long at all.
Oh.
I think it was 8 or 9 questions, and some of which were, what is your agency and what is your agency's address? And I had to provide contact information, and then we had to provide our budget as of January of 2020. So it was not overburdensome or difficult, and it wasn't too long at all.
That's good. That's
one of the questions was, yes, we want the money, or no, we don't want the money.
Didn't need help with that one.
Yeah, of the 8 or 9 questions, one of them was that. And I think, one of the reasonings why I've heard that the state has applied for a waiver on the time frame is because they want to make sure that all of the cities all of the non-entitlement cities actually want the money. Because if anybody turns it down, they're going to then redistribute those dollars to the other cities. So again, look into it what you will, but it's an opportunity for them to hold on to the money for even longer.
Right, but setting aside, assuming you are going to get it in this budget cycle, I'm doing this from memory, John, that kind of fills the hole Richard had going into this that was, probably going to be filled by real property taxes overperforming or hiring at a slower pace. You were probably going to get there, but this, I think, removes any doubt you're going to get there, at least on June 2022.
Correct. Yeah, and that is one of the purposes of the ARP dollars was to help agencies make up for loss in revenue. Of course, we have quite a bit of loss of revenue, and so you are correct. Those dollars are currently proposed to be used to help bridge the gap that we have between revenues and expected expenditures.
Yeah, all right, but that
Good.
seems like good news.
Yeah.
Uh,
It'll be better news when we get the money.
Yeah, I mean, my only comment on that is having lived through in great detail the CARES Act money, that is such a small amount of money that I think it's going to be pretty streamlined. You know, in the main CARES Act program, if you weren't getting $100 million, you were in kind of Plan B, where they just wanted to shovel it out to you, and it was above 100 million. They actually looked at it a little bit. So, I mean, $7 million in the scheme of this thing is small, but they'll come back and audit you, and you guys will be prepared for it.
Mhm.
So, unless somebody else had questions on that, then I had one other question. Do you guys have any sense as to when meetings are going to go back to in person, or what the city is going to do on the far side of June 15th here?
That is a great question. So currently there are no definitive plans for returning to in person. As part of the June 15th timeframe and sort of removing of the tier system, the governor did clarify that he was keeping the executive order, which allows cities to and agencies and boards to have meetings virtually. Every indication is that that will continue for some time. And so certainly as we are moving forward, we are looking into when is the right time to start doing probably some sort of hybrid at first, where those who feel comfortable coming into in-person can come in person, and those who perhaps don't feel as comfortable can stay virtual, and eventually shifting back to fully in-person meetings. The other sort of factor is we don't have a council chambers. That is still under construction, but certainly we have other venues where we can, for commission meetings are far easier. We can hold in other locations as well. So as of now, there's no set time frame, but it's certainly something over the next couple of months we are looking into and figuring out how and when we will start moving back to in-person.
Great, thank you.
All right, so I think this might be a quick meeting. Are we ready to wrap up? Are there any other questions or issues to be discussed tonight? All right, I'd like to thank John and Helen for being very prepared and for answering our questions, and for the other committee members for the good questions and good subcommittee work. I think we're done for this evening.
Madam Chair, if I might, this is Councilmember Enander. I noticed that our interim city manager is on the call tonight, and I think this might be his last time to see you guys. I don't know if he wanted to say anything or not. Not to put Mr. Kilger, I put Mr. Kilger on the spot.
Excuse me, but I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, it was pretty light.
Did you want to say anything? I think this is your last meeting with these guys, isn't it, Mr.
Yeah, it
Kilger?
is. Well, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much. The only thing I really have to say is I really, in my short tenure here, want to thank both you, the commission, and John Maginot and the finance staff for the excellent job they did pulling us through a very difficult time. Los Altos is a wonderful community, but between transitions in city managers, COVID, and losing our administrative service director, losing our finance manager, and still being able to pull out a mid-year budget, an audit, and a final budget, I have to say I'm very impressed with the Los Altos staff. the people that serve on the commissions, and of course our council. It's a great community, and I wish you all the best, and hang in there. You're going to get there. Whatever your challenges are, you will get there.
Thank you, Brad, very much. Thank you for being there when the city needed you, for sure.
Yeah, but you got a great staff. It was easy. Well, kind of, but it was easy.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Anita, for that. Okay, anyone else? All right, John,
Thank you all.
Helen, thank you.
All right, great news. John and Helen, still
Yeah.
daylight. We're done.
Yeah, it's still daylight.
All right.
Very
Good night.
Thank you.
All right,
all.
thank you.
Good night and thank you.